Guest with my guests, who are two Assembly members, Labour's Mick Anthony and the Liberal Democrats' Peter Black. You're both very welcome, and I'll be with you very shortly. We'll start, though, by finding whether or not they'd still be AMs if we'd had an election this week. Today's YouGov poll for ITV Wales gives Labour a commanding lead in the constituencies even, so I expect Mick would be okay. But Peter would have another anxious night at the count, with UKIP leaping to third place on the regional list. Our expert analysis, or best guess, if that's what you prefer, is that those numbers would give us a Labour majority government, a Plaid Cymru official opposition, and UKIP joining the Tories and Lib Dems as the minor parties in the Senedd.
I think people see us now as being a credible party, and they've had enough of the other parties, and they see us as being an alternative. But also at the same time, we've got a lot of things going on in Europe with the Eurozone problems, and I think people are starting to wake up to the fact now about what Europe is actually doing to the people of Wales and the rest of the UK.
Is it not bizarre, though, that you're against Britain being in the European Parliament and you're against the Assembly, and yet you've done very well in the poll in both?
Well, I think there is, if you go back to the early days of the Welsh Assembly, only 25.5% of the people voted for the Assembly in the first place. So I think there are people out there with great concerns about how this place is run anyway.
Well, a happy John Bufton from UKIP, Peter Black, unhappy Lib Dems looking at those poll results?
Well, I think the whole thing's pretty meaningless, really, isn't it? I mean,
it's the view of the people.
I mean, a week before the Assembly elections, we had a poll came out, the Liberal Democrats were going to get wiped out. Here we are 4 years before the next Assembly elections saying the Liberal Democrats are going to get wiped out. If you can't get it right a week before the elections, how are they going to get it right 4 years before the elections?
OK, but you did have the verdict of the real verdict, if you like, the real poll in the local elections, and you lost half your councillors.
I mean, yes, I accept that we didn't do too well in that, and clearly there's been a reaction against the Liberal Democrats, the Welsh Liberal Democrats, as a result of being in government. We're having to make some very difficult decisions in very difficult circumstances. We're having to put the economy back on track, and clearly people are disillusioned and disappointed with that. And, we accept that, but we've taken responsibility of being in government, and we have now 3 years to the general election to convince people that we did the right thing and that we are a responsible party which can deliver for them.
Well, let me put it another way then. Do you accept that last year's the last election's results and these poll results do show that there is a problem that you have to deal with?
What it shows is that we have to redouble our efforts, I think, to convince people that we are doing the right thing. I think there are some issues around a message we're putting across. Clearly, there are trust issues. Clearly, there are issues around people conceiving that the Liberal Democrats...
And trust about the Lib Dems, not just lack of trust in politicians.
Yeah, that's right, and about leadership. And I think we've proven, I think, within the coalition that we can lead and we are influencing government. We just have to get that message across.
Okay. And one more thing to you, Peter Black, which is that there were concerns after the local elections, and as there clearly would be, that your local campaigning base that you rely on so much, that could be lost, destroyed. Any evidence of that happening?
No, I think the campaigning base is still there. I think clearly those members who've lost their seats, I've been talking to a lot of them over the last few weeks, and they're still up for campaigning and fighting back.
OK, we can't focus in the same way on Labour on this one, because clearly a very good result. What about the view, though, that good result is gained entirely for negative reasons? It's entirely because people are unhappy with the UK coalition government, and the Labour is playing up to that.
Well, I think there's always an element, but part of that is that people are seeing an alternative to it. I think some of it also reflects the fact that Ed Miliband is now gaining ground. He's besting David Cameron in Prime Minister's Questions time. He's made an impact in Leveson. He's made an impact now on the banking crisis. And I think people are now seriously looking at Labour as an alternative government for the next election.
As an alternative, or just as a protest vote?
I think as an alternative, because I think Ed Miliband has taken a number of sort of clear positions in the economic issues.
Quick word from both of you, because we're nearly out of time on this discussion, but our poll is a long way away, I know, but would suggest that there would be a presence of UKIP in the Assembly. Does that worry you, or do you welcome it?
It worries me that you would have a more right-wing element within the Assembly, because I really do quite oppose UKIP. But I do wonder whether a big chunk of that...
Legitimate voice, though. They give a voice to people who are legitimately concerned.
Absolutely, and I think what it is Tory voters who are unhappy with what is happening with their government going elsewhere.
And a quick word...
Well, I wouldn't disagree with that, but I think back in 2011, again, there was talk about Green AMs, there was talk about UKIP AMs, it didn't materialise. Okay. We've got a long way to go. I'm sure that things will come back to a more even balance.
Well, we'll talk about it in 3 years' time. I don't know whether that's an optimistic note or a depressing note, but we'll discuss it anyway. Thank you.